Welcome to Biggest Geekus. I am your host, Joe. This is episode 95 of the show. The date is Tuesday, July 5th, 2022. And once again, I am by myself. Randy is out of town. We'll be back next week. And I believe next week we'll have hopefully a guest on for you guys to see. Let's see how many are out there in chat land there, and we have Tim and Martinson. Thank you. A level 47. Mr. Martinson. Indeed. All right. We are starting today, changing up the order of what we do here at Biggest Geekus. Instead of having a long way to wait till you get to the main topic, we're going to go right into it and do our dive into the geekosphere afterwards. So, as the title says, before 1 or 2 minutes, I'll talk a little bit. Maybe we'll get a few more people in. Looks like we've got a few people who are watching who are just lurking and not chatting, which is just fine. Appreciate all of you watching. So last week was a pretty interesting week. Tuesday, we had all kinds of technical and scheduling difficulties, which resulted in a hello green apple, which resulted in some issues with Tuesday not being feasible. And then I just did my own video on Thursday because Randy had already left town. Oh, Lurker Aaron, welcome. And that video garnered several new subscribers. Hopefully some of you are watching the live stream tonight. And quite a bit of views. The last I checked, it was near 300. That's the most that we've gotten on any one of our videos. And I appreciate everybody who tuned in to watch it. Definitely appreciate it. So now we are well over 200 subscribers, which brings us a bit closer to our contest, our next contest milestone, which we'll talk about. I'll talk a little bit more about that after the main topic. So that's the excitement for the week. We had 4th of July yesterday here in the US of A, where we kicked all you dirty British folks off of our continent. Good riddance. Anyway, we celebrated our independence yesterday. Had a bit of a fire that was too hot yesterday because it was hot yesterday in Michigan, and had some hot dogs and fruit salad, me and the wife, and enjoyed a fire as long as we could, considering how warm it was. Anyway, while we are on the subject of subscribers, subscribe. If you haven't already done so, those who are watching, please consider subscribing, hitting the like button, all of the things that activate the algorithm, such as it is. We appreciate you helping us out. So now that we have hit the obligatory subscribe, we are now going to get right in to the main topic, which is 5 other non-D&D RPGs that are probably great to play. I'm going to say probably, and you'll know why. And I say other because a few episodes ago when Randy wasn't here again, he's absent way too much. I have to do something about that, Mr. Nichols. Patrick and I talked about some games that were not D&D that we like. So this is kind of a sequel to that, part 2. So Martinson and Tim, you two are talking about levels on a game online. I thought you were talking about your age, perhaps. Alrighty. Anyway, we're going to be talking about some games that are not D&D. If you guys in the chat have things to say about them, please do so. The first one on the docket here is Savage Worlds, and we have talked about that a bit here on the channel, on our show. We like Savage Worlds because several reasons, really. It's great for the time-challenged gamer. Oh, Diablo Immortal. Okay, that's the game you guys are talking about. I didn't know Diablo had raids in it. I thought it was, well, I guess it's just like any other game these days they've made. That's an MMO version of Diablo. I thought, because I've played the standalone version. Single player. But yes, for the time-challenged player or game master Savage Worlds is great because one, as long as you're willing to make your own stuff, especially on the fly, you can do that pretty easily. You only have one book. Let me see if I can bring up. I have some imagery here for you to gaze upon, those who are watching. Yeah, this is one thing I forgot to set up beforehand. Let me see. I think they're right. No. I will go instead here. I'm going to type this into the old Google machine. Ooh, that isn't that interesting. Oh, that is it. There we go. I'm going to share that so you guys have something to look at besides my beautiful face. All right, so we've got Savage Worlds, fast, furious, and fun. It is fast. It is. You can make a character in about 5 minutes. Play is quick. You have a target number of 4 as a base for just about everything you want to accomplish. Situations may change that number, and the D20 is largely absent from the game, except for, I think, some kind of weird death saving throw. But that's what I was going to do. Yes, I can't, if I have this up. Yes. I am screwing up because I am by myself. Anyway, so the game is fun. It is fast. It's cheap. It's a very cheap buried entry. It used to be cheaper. You used to be able to get the main book for $20. Now it's $40. The PDF is $10, which is kind of, I don't know, 10. I guess it's $10. It's not bad. And so another thing that makes Savage Worlds a lot of fun is the dice explosion mechanic. So when you have your dice to roll, and you use most of the dice, your stats are measured in the dice: a D4, D6, D10, D8, D10, D12. It's one of those things, and then your skills are also rated similarly. And so you roll that die, and if you happen to get the highest number possible on that die, so if you're rolling a D4 and you get a 4, you get to roll again, and that goes for all of them. You also have a D6 you roll as a PC, which is your I can't remember the name of that die. Hopefully someone in the chat can help me out. But you roll a D6 as well, and you if that die explodes, you can re-roll that one as well, and you keep adding until you stop maxing the die. So it can be a bit swingy because you can roll really out of the park and cause someone to go down really fast, which makes combats kind of fast and kind of deadly. So you want to pick and choose what you do there. Wild die. Yes, thank you, Martinson. Um, so there's a lot to like. It's a thin book. You don't have a ton of options, but you do have a decent amount of customizability for your character. So not all of them are going to be identical. You might find them um, a particular type of character to tend to gravitate towards um, certain edges, which are kind of like feats from D&D. And but you're not going to be identical to each other in any fashion. Um, so I think that's one of the best things that you can do to promote the game is its speed of play and its ease of play. It's not a complicated game. You can say it has a lot of crunch because of the different sets you can get for it, like Deadlands or the super hero companion. There's a fantasy companion. If you get there's a lot of what would be a world book you can get in addition to it. It gives you more options, but the gameplay at the table doesn't change with those much. I guess it depends on the book you get. Uh, there's the Necessary Evil game, which changes things up a bit because it puts you on a superhero scale. Savage Worlds is as a base game is not too super all by itself. You start out fairly competent and get pretty decent toward the end of the game when you become legendary. But it's nothing like a superhero, I don't think. So, hello, Darth, and T-shirted. Thank you for your game suggestions there. Uh, yeah, Aaron, it is Savage World seems fun. According to Aaron, I've read the book but never played it. Yeah, I have a few books like that myself. It is fun, and I guess like a lot of games, it depends on the group you're with. As long as you have a fun time playing games, you'll have a fun time with Savage Worlds, I'm sure. So that's the first game that I wanted to recommend. Also, I think one of the reasons I put this list together is because these games play differently from D&D to a large degree. With Savage Worlds, you get 3 wounds, no matter where you're at on the scale, whether you're a very beginning character, the novice, all the way up to legendary. You have 3 wounds. You got 4th wound, you're down. Sorry about your luck. You may be able to survive with, leg cut off or brain damage or something like that. There's a table to survive death, but it's nothing like D&D where you take a licking and keep on ticking all the way down to 0 hit points, and then depending on which version you have your death saves, or you can go negative, resurrection, and lots of healing. Not so much in Savage Worlds, unless the DM puts it in there as a homebrew. You don't get a lot of healing in that game, so it can be deadly. You have to pick and choose your battles, or it'll be a short night for sure. All right, so our next game is Dungeon Crawl Classics. Now, some would say, "Hey, hold on a minute. I thought you were having games that were not D&D." Well, as much as Dungeon Crawl Classics is derived from the D20 system, I would contend it's not very D&D. It has some superficial similarities. There's racist class in there, and various other things, but just a few things. I mean, you have class, you have race, you roll a d20, you have hit points, all the surface level stuff. But once you sit down and play the game, it's pretty different. It has critical fumble. It has criticals, critical fumbles, tables. Not just you crit and do double. You have a table, and all kinds of crazy things can happen. And your spells also have their own table of variable effects that can happen if you roll really high. I mean, a fireball could be a meteor from from the heavens, or if you roll really low, you might blow yourself up. So, and then all of the different spells, they can have all kinds of different effects. So it's a bit gonzo, I would say. It's a bit. I think gonzo is probably your best, one of your best descriptions. Magic is a bit corrupting. I think you can get mutated depending on what you roll in those spells. And combat can be deadly in that too, I believe. I only played through a funnel, which is how you decide your first level character, your first character. Yes, Mr. Max, the stupid dice. I really think that those were made as a differentiator in the early days. And I believe since then they've made some rules modifications and have become DCC has become its own game, in spite of that thing from early on. I didn't really care. I still don't really care for it. I guess it. Oh yes, Legion of Myth. Pardon me. I will restart the stream and start from the top. Or you could just fast forward me. That'll work. And we've only been on for what, 17 minutes. You should be able to catch up fast. Anyway, so Savage Worlds can be gonzo. It depends on the world book you use. I don't think it's too gonzo just from the base book. That's my opinion, though. Anyway, DCC I would say DCC is worlds more gonzo than Savage Worlds from base rules. Let's pull up. Oops. Let's pull up Goodman Games. Classics. Good old Goodman Games. Here you go. It's for something visual. Yeah, it has a lot. Dungeon Crawl Classics has a lot of material behind it. It's very well supported. It's a very popular game. Very gonzo, I would say. What I was saying earlier about the character creation, you have the funnel. I don't think it's not a necessary thing to do, but it's certainly very Dungeon Crawl Classics centric. You have essentially a 0 level character with 1 hit point or something like that, very few hit points, and you have 4 characters, and every player has 4 characters, and all of you go through the same adventure, and the different encounters will peel off all the supposedly peel off the dross and just leave the good stuff behind. When we went through the funnel, I think I might have lost 1 of my 4. I might have had all 4 of them at the end, something like that. It was. I was playing cautious though, so yes, Dungeon Crawl Classics has that going for it. I think you can just roll up a first level character. That's the funnel thing is not necessary, but it was fun. I wouldn't want to do it all the time. Like I said, it is a gonzo sword and sorcery game. It is not any kind of faithful emulation of the medieval fantasy world. It's its own thing completely, and it's good. It was fun. Tim Scott, I think it works for gonzo fantasy, but I also think it works for a grim fantasy as well. Anything where it might be hard to survive is a good fit. Yeah, it's a deadly game. Especially if you just run headlong into every battle, you're probably going to go down. Yes, Martinson. X-Crawl has a DCC variant. Didn't we play that at Cabin Con? That rings a bell. Yes, Legion funnel. The funnel is a fun novelty, but I wouldn't do it every time. I love the wizard corruption. Yeah, it definitely puts makes it stand apart from most D20 games where magic works. It only affects the one who fails their save poorly for the most part. But DCC, you could end up on the bad end of your own spell really easily. Yes, Tim ran it. That's right. Roll for sanity. DCC is greater than ubiquity. Ubiquity, is that a game? Is it one? If it is, it's not one I'm familiar with, which isn't saying much of anything really. All right, we've got our next game up. We have Legend of the Five Rings. Now, I have played it one time. Friend of mine, I played it at Cabin Con. Jeff ran it, and I had fun. I think if I could get into a regular campaign of that, I would. It would definitely be a welcome change because of Legend of the Five Rings lore. Setting aside the rules part of it, it has a very interesting lore, and you're not an adventuring party just doing their own thing, going their own way, behaving however they want. There's some consequences in your normal D&D game, but Legend of the Five Rings, in my opinion, you have a couple of more levels of constraint on your character's behavior due to the implied culture or the explicit culture in the game world. You really have to pay attention to what you do. Honor is part and parcel of your life, no matter what class you are. Even those without honor affects them in some kind of way. So, yeah, Legend of the Five Rings is, I would say, exotic, much in the same way that Oriental Adventures can be called exotic. And for those of you who don't care about that, don't like that word out there listening, it's a word that's useful in this situation. It doesn't feel like it's not medieval fantasy. It is, or has an Oriental or exotic feel to it. It's intentional, and it's a good thing. It has a very exotic roll and keep roll and keep dice mechanic. It's, I think, my favorite one, even more than just rolling a d20 and adding, because of its simplicity. The roll and keep, I'm not really sure if I can put my finger on why I like it. It might just be it being different, and it's not your typical bell curve generating dice system. You still add all of your dice up. You're going to have more than 3. You're going to have 5, 6, 7 dice at times, and your numbers are going to go definitely up. There's a standard table graduated by 5, starting at 5 for different levels of success. Yes, Legion of Myth, Lion Clan, Real Men of Honor. I don't know the clans very well, but that's one of the interesting things about the game is the clans all have some sort of, they're all based on, if I remember correctly, they're all based on animals. Oh yeah, Martinson, Crab Clan. But yes, Legend of the Five Rings has that Asian feel that you're not going to get in a D&D game unless you're playing Oriental Adventures. Also, the combat in this game, though exotic, it's very deadly. Approach it with caution and use stealth or diplomacy when necessary, because this is one of those games you don't want to just run into combat headlong all the time, um, because swords hurt. Um, what else did I have to say about Legend of the Five Rings? Yes, the lore that I've heard. Some of my friends have played it a lot. Martinson, Pat, and Jeff are very steeped in that lore. And when they get into talking about the lore, it's very interesting. That's one of the things I like about it most. It is exotic, some would say. All right. Moving along to Mage the Ascension. Oh no, that's not right. Now, I don't know. There it is. I tried to find Mage the Ascension. Oh boy. Embarrassing. Mage the Ascension on White Wolf's site, and I was having a hard time finding it. They have a new thing with Vampire. I believe that they're revamping their entire line again. So while on White Wolf's site, you can find World of Darkness and Vampire easily. Everything else they kind of shuffle off to drive through. So that may change in the future when they've revamped all of them, but it just seems like it's not, unless I just overlooked the link, I didn't see it. That being the case, so the reason I put this on here is not too long ago, Heathen Dog of Legion of Myth fame did an episode on it. And while I have played Vampire a long time ago, I've never played Mage, but he made it sound very compelling, especially when you do what he did, and he removed all of the more emo elements of the game. So yes, it's more of something I'd like to play, kind of a wish. And also, World of Darkness has a big tonal difference from games like D&D. D&D, there's hope that you're going to win. World of Darkness, and even if you take out most of the emo stuff, World of Darkness games, they're called World of Darkness for a reason. It's gritty. It's not the heroes are going to win. You're not really even necessarily playing heroes, although you can re-gear it a bit like Heathen Dog did. I think the most compelling part of it, apart from that, was the freeform magic that Mage the Ascension boasts, and I liked Ars Magica for the same reason. It's a big step away from D&D and its memorization mechanics, and it just sounds very intriguing. So I would jump at the chance to get into a Mage the Ascension game with the right people. Right people being my guys, or my kind of guys. Legion of Myth, yes, Mage the Ascension, not Mage the Awakening. Heathen Dog did a comparison of Ascension to Awakening, and the new one, Awakening, is garbage. Yeah, I was wondering about that. I was pretty sure it was Ascension that he did, so I'm glad I did the right one. I did it out of memory. Not just because it's woke, because of course it's woke, because everything is, but the magic system is trash. Oh, that's too bad. That is too bad. Oh well, we still have the old game. I have a PDF. I thought I had the hard. Well, it's not a hardback, but it's paper. The paperback book. I thought I had that, but I do not. in any event, that is a wish to play. Right. So moving right along, we are going to come up on Heroes Unlimited. I have played several different superhero games. I've played Savage Worlds, a couple of different versions of supers in Savage Worlds. I've played Champions. I've played, let's see, well, I was going to say Hero System, but Hero System is Champions. I can't remember the names of all of them, but I've played several different superhero games. And also, Legion of Myth has talked about Heroes Unlimited a lot on their channel and has made it sound very cool to play, and mainly because of Palladium's system, which I'm very familiar with already. It would be easy to get into, and given how Palladium games run, I think a hero version of it would be just great. When Palladium is also kind of derived from D&D, he took liberally from the D&D system and added his own stuff. Him being a man's name that I can't remember off the top of my head. I used to be able to it's Kevin Sembita. Yeah, Kevin Sembita developed his system back in the 80s, I believe, and Heroes Unlimited eventually came along, and it uses the same system. It just kind of ups the game because it is super. I really do like all the Palladium games. That's mainly why I think I would like this as well. I like superheroes. I like Palladium. It would all go well together. So those are the 5 games. I went through pretty quickly. Many of them are games I've only played once or haven't played but wish to play. Unfortunately, many of these games, though they've had versions before 5 years ago, all of them that have a company that is current have gone pretty much the way of the left. So I'm not sure how much I want to go out and grab the very most recent brand new shiny version of these. But many of these books are available on eBay. They're available on drive-through, which has its own bad connotations now these days because of their, I wouldn't call anti-competitive. I would just say that they're being monopolistic and abusing their customers in a lot of bad ways. Anyway, there are many ways to get these games apart from getting the shiny brand new ones. You can get cheaper ones from eBay or get the PDFs even cheaper. So it's an alternative to going out and buying the $60, $70, $50, $60, $70 books they've got out now, and gives you a ton of options if you're tired of the D20 system. Even Palladium with their sort of D20 system, it's different enough that you get a different experience at the table. Once again, it can be deadly with Palladium games. All of these games, I'm not sure about Mage so much, but I'm pretty sure, like a lot of World of Darkness games, if you go head first into all of your potential battles, you're going to have a bad time. You need to use diplomacy and stealth a lot to be successful long term in a lot of these games. They're not built for the more forthright, straightforward, kick in the door, attack the monsters right away. That D&D, you can do that, and if you don't necessarily have to have a great plan. You don't necessarily have to be smart in your tactics, and you can still be successful because I think D&D pretty much favors the bold, where these other games, they favor the tactical. Your mileage may vary, though. I think these games, I'll go over them once again. Savage Worlds, Dungeon Crawl Classics, Legend of the Five Rings, Mage the Ascension, Heroes Unlimited. They all have their own unique flair, slightly different table experience, and it's all different from D&D. So, and they're all good diversions, and they're all good, maybe apart from Savage Worlds. I'm still up in the air about how great that is for long-term campaigns. But the other ones are for sure built for long-term. And, well, DCC only has 10 levels you can achieve, so it's not really built for real long campaigns. I don't think so, especially not with the mutation stuff. You play around with that mutation magic enough, long term you're going to be a squid or something worse. I tell you what, doing this solo, it's a lot different on the old throat. Get dried out a lot faster. If Legion, if I am, if you're getting some bad experiences there with my water drinking, let me know. Weird guy. I'm not a big fan of Savage Worlds. I think the dice mechanic is done better in Dungeons and Delvers Dice Pool Edition. I am not familiar. I'll have to look that one up. It is something that Earth Dawn does similarly, I believe. I've heard Legion of Myth say that there are similar mechanics between Earth Dawn and Savage Worlds, superficially. But yeah, whether you like a game or not is really subjective. If can you state in brief what that dice mechanic is? That would be cool to know, to make some sort of comparison. But cool if not. Okay, here we go. Cool. Weird guy also says, roll your attribute dice, your skill dice, and any talents that add dice. Pick the best two and add. Oh yeah, it's nothing like that. I think that with, if I remember correctly, with skills, you just have your skill dice. If you have, if you're just doing a raw attribute roll, then you just use your attributes. Skills are tied to attributes, but aren't bound by them. In the long run, you just roll the one die. You're only really rolling 2 die at most for success. You're rolling your skill or attribute die, and then your wild die, and that's it. Oh yeah. Bennies is an infuriating term. Yeah, Benny, benefit. Yeah, I get that. Action die, action point might be better or something like that. Legion of Myth, Aaron Wilkerson, Legion of Myths. Well, Bennies, not Bonnies. It's such a dumb term. Yeah, there's a lot of people who don't like Bennies as a terminology. Bruce, need to play Pathfinder, but don't want to do it yourself? Find an authentic NYC accountant to run your game with you. Oy vey. Yeah. There's a lot of paperwork. It looks like. Hello, Silent Shushu. Looks like. Oh boy. I'm old and I'm forgetting things. DVR, yes. DVR Army is here. Thank you, DVR, for sending your minions to invade my channel. I appreciate that. So he's given us an example in play for this game. Weird guy is, for example, a dwarf soldier cleric with Slayer talent, armed with a 2-handed hammer. D8 for strength, D6 for melee skill, D4 for being a dwarf with a hammer, and D4 for 2-hander. I heard a ding. Don't know where it's coming from. That's where it's coming from. All right. Oh, so and you roll all those together, pick your best two. Do the dice explode? That would be cool. It'd also be cool to know what kind of target number you're looking at. That'll also matter. With Savage Worlds, like I said, is just 4. And every 4 you get above that, or if the base target number is higher than that number above the base number. So if your target number is 6, every 6 higher. Although it may still be 4. I can't remember for sure, but in any event, you get what's called raise. Sometimes only one raise is any good. Like on an attack roll, you get a raise, you get extra damage. And then I believe with spells, sometimes and raises have various effects depending on what spell you cast. So yeah. Bruce Lombardo, a D4 for this, a D8 for that. Gah, Rollmaster D100. There's only so many dice, Bruce. You can keep that straight. I'm sure you can. Trolling Revolution. Have you ever played Magic the Gathering? A little. And hello to you, Parsley. All right. This sounds like a good time for everyone to subscribe if you haven't already. Please hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up, the notification bell, comment, and share this out to your friends if they don't already know it. I know we only have 1 or 2 friends among us, but do your best. All right. So, moving along. That wasn't too bad for a main topic. Solo run, a little under an hour. We're just going to roll right into our next segment. It's just going to be a bunch of random topics like we normally did at the top of the show. If you weren't here earlier, we decided, well, I decided, and Randy agreed because I twisted his arm behind his back and he said, "Uncle." So we are putting the main topic at the head of the show and then moving the various geek culture items that we have been doing at the beginning. We're moving that afterwards. Maybe if we have other topics that might go toward the end. It's all going to depend on how we feel at the time, I guess. So we hadn't been getting call-ins, but we got a flood of them. Randy decided to flake out on me for 2 weeks, essentially. Technical difficulties, and then Randy decided to go out of town. And in that time, we got a bunch of them. So what we're going to end up doing is likely having a show dedicated to just doing the call-ins. And for those who are unsure what I'm talking about, we distribute our audio version of this show, our podcast version, on Anchor. And the Anchor podcasters, all of the role-playing game podcasters on Anchor, they like to call each other because they have a system built in on Anchor there where you click on it, use your microphone, and it's called a call-in. It's kind of just a play on words, like a radio call-in show from back in the day. So it's a big thing over there. They're called the Anchorites. So they call each other, and we kind of dipped into that, and we're doing that before we went to the video format. So for those of you who are just YouTube folks, it may be unfamiliar. Anyway, we hadn't had any for a while, and then we got a bunch. So I'm not sure if it would be conducive to do those in a show and make the show 5 hours long, because we may get a lot of conversation out of it. So we'll probably dedicate it to one show where we do the call-ins. I'm not sure if we're going to record that or if we're going to do that live. we'll figure that out. That'll be coming up soon. All right, this next item. Let's see, did I closed it? I did, like a dork. Dork. Let me just do some copy and paste magic here behind the scenes. Those of you who are a bit masochistic, like me, may venture out onto Twitter. It's for those of us who are of abnormal constitution and can deal with Twitter's nonsense. You may know this already if you are on Twitter. If not, you may not, because this was largely a Twitter phenomenon, if I'm not mistaken. Let me get it up on screen. Wizards for Justice. These days, when anybody hollers about justice, it's usually social justice, and it's a bunch of baloney. This is really no different. So the employees of Wizards of the Coast decided to form a group on Twitter called Wizards for Justice and complain about their parent company, Hasbro, not coming out with any type of stance on the Roe v. Wade decision. There is, let's see if I can make this big enough for everybody to read. It's wonderful text. Hopefully you guys can read it. We, as employees of Wizards of the Coast, are frustrated, disappointed, and completely dissatisfied with Hasbro's out-of-touch, tone-deaf, and lackluster response to Friday's Supreme Court decision to overturn Roe versus Wade. This decision, that healthcare for marginalized individuals is a privilege based on location of means, violates basic human rights. Women are not marginalized individuals. The world is, half the world is women. So they were marginalized back in the day, not anymore. That can't be claimed. Not in any realistic fashion. At a bare minimum, any ethical organization should be offering health care, travel benefits, support, a clear message of solidarity. No. A clear message. Okay. Hasbro sells toys. No one should care what their stance is on Roe v. the company's stance on Roe v. Wade. It's a toy company. They should just sell toys. If they want to offer whatever they call health care to their employees, they can do that. There's no need to shout it out in the streets, on social media, in the news, or whatever. We stand against Roe v. Wade. You're a freaking toy company. Just sell toys. On Wednesday, June 29th, all employees are encouraged to take a day to reflect, nurture mental health, and show solidarity that Hasbro will not. It's one of those things like when Trump got elected, people thought that they should take the day off because they were so upset. So Roe v. Wade gets overturned, and now they have to take a day off. It's kind of weird, except the kind of part. Decisions like this cause suffering, and it's this that we ask on the same day Hasbro leadership to reflect on, particularly how messaging like this violates and stands in the face of a diverse and inclusive workforce, and creates yet another burden for allegedly, that's my word, and it fits, for already marginalized people. We also ask that leadership understand the policy, opinions, and perspectives. That policy, opinions, and perspectives are not the same thing. And respecting the ability for people to have varying opinions is not equal lack of damage and harm. Equating opinions and ignoring this is a choice towards harm. Harm. If Hasbro doesn't make a statement, they're harming people by not making a statement, because a toy company making a statement matters at all. Additionally, we recommend that Hasbro acknowledge the disproportionate impact this ruling has on marginalized people. Any government decision can disproportionately affect people on the margins. It's true. There's no getting around that. It's the effect of a hierarchy. Hierarchies tend to push those at the margin farther out on the edge. And it's up to individuals that care to help them out, not necessarily the hierarchy, although we just should be aware of that. Check out Jordan Peterson. He has a lot to say on that. Anyway, it does, whether you are for or against the decision, that's not the important thing. Why I'm bringing this up. Why I'm bringing this up is that people think that a toy company's opinion, stance matters, that a toy company needs to act in a particular way politically. And the other part is that they think they can demand it of their company. If it was me, I'd fire the whole lot of them. You're out of here. You can't demand of me anything. Bye. I'll hire people that will just do good work. How about that? Not a popular opinion, I know. Let's see here. Trolling Revolution. Hasbro basically started making a bunch of sets every year, and people couldn't keep up. Too much money. Also with the internet storefronts. Okay, I just jumped into something I don't. Just in the middle. We cannot organize society for people on the margin. Correct. They need to be taken care of, but society at large can't be organized that way. We have to organize it for people on the center, and I say that as a guy on the margin. I'm on the extreme far right of the IQ bell curve. Right. You can't plan. Well, a society shouldn't be planned in a top-down manner anyway. I think we have some stark examples of that in history where planning at the highest level for everything in society has gone deadly wrong. Anyway, though, yes, wherever you stand on this issue is fine. It's not. I'm not talking about the issue itself, but the ridiculousness of a toy company's political stance being important at all. They need to find new jobs. Where, Elon? I don't know. I'm not sure what you're saying. I missed something there. It's an issue here with not being able to keep up with the chat. I'll just jump in and have absolutely no idea what's going on. So yes, I'm not sitting here making a stand on the issue. I'm just saying the ridiculousness of this toy company mattering politically at all. And that's what I have to say about that. Let's see what's next on the agenda here. Yes, what I was saying earlier about the channel. Let's see if that's changed. It was weird. It went up to 215 and then dipped back down to 213. It's just a weird way that YouTube counts. It was on a steady upward and then all of a sudden went the other way. But not very far, so I'm not complaining really. Let's see. Yes, 214. Either the number corrected of itself or somebody here subscribed. If you did, I appreciate that. So yes, we're up to 214 subscribers. Our giveaway contest, which is an ongoing contest, the next milestone is 250. So we are just 36 subscribers away from that threshold. Now, I don't do the specifics on what is going to be given away. That's Randy's job, and we will when perhaps the next live stream next week when Randy's back, we'll have something to say about the what, because we are fairly close, 35, 36 away, and we'll probably announce either that or the following stream what the new giveaway will consist of, and that way we can promote it and maybe get the other 35 post haste. Oh wow, yes, my solo video from last week now has 319 views. All right. It's very short, so I guess the shorter videos are going to garner more views than the longer ones, all things considered. But yes, and for everyone who's contributed to the jump in subscribers, if you are on tonight or if you listen after the fact, here at Biggest Geekus, we greatly appreciate all of that. Right, so let's go to the next item. Yes, we're going to do a couple of shout outs. The first one, I'm just staying on the Avenger Satanis bandwagon one for a little while longer. I just wanted to shout out his Corvallis publishing imprint. I've got a couple of links that will be in the show notes and in the video description. They are already there. I actually have all the links for everything I'm talking about tonight already there. Last week for the video, the short video I did, I kind of dropped the ball on the linkage there, and it took a few days for me to catch up, so sorry about that. But tonight, all the links to everything I'm talking about are already in the description. So Venger has a couple of places you can go find his stuff. He has a blog, vengersatanis.blogspot.com, and he has a YouTube channel. You just type it in the search bar in YouTube, you'll find him. And he has, I believe he still has stuff at Drive-Thru. I don't think he's been fully ejected, just a couple of his items, unless I am mistaken. Oh, phone guy, hello, how are you doing? So yeah. Oh, what does this say? All right, Mr. Max Boivin. Hopefully I didn't butcher that too much. Libertarians used to say that we could trust big corporations because their greed would push them to do what's right for the majority. But we now know this is not true. Yeah, I'm not sure which libertarians were saying that, because I do remember someone that I know saying greed is good. And I would completely disagree with that assessment. Having drive and having determination and using your innate desire to be successful, which in this day and age, money can really symbolize that success, is fine. But when you take it to the point of greed, where you will do anything to succeed, including petitioning the government for favorable regulations, using anti-competitive practices, and kind of shark-like eating up all of your competition, you've probably gone a little too far. So yeah, I'm pretty much a libertarian. I'm at the very least libertarian adjacent. And while I understand everybody's individual need, or everybody acts in their own self-interest to a degree, I don't agree with the greed is good mantra. I think that's a kind of ridiculous thing to lean on. Anyway, Venger Satanis, I believe, still has items over at Drive-Thru. He just has a couple of them removed. So check him out. You may not, I mean, he may not be your cup of tea. He's not really mine. I'm just bringing this up to highlight that we don't necessarily all have to like the same kind of games. His games are largely gonzo. They're not all, but most of them are somewhat hypersexualized to a degree, either artistically or it's mostly artistically. I don't know that it's all game mechanic stuff, but there's some of that too, I believe. Hey, Cal, yes, you are very late. Shame on you. Don't do it again. Do better. Anyway, yes, shout out to Avenger, and you can get his latest two items that were yanked from drive-through by contacting him directly. The next shout out I want to do, I'm doing a little with of two minds. So I saw Wizard Tower Games promote something called D20 Delving. It's going to be a board game. They're saying that it's supposed to have already come out. I haven't seen it yet. It was supposed to be in June, and now we're in July. But a lot of things get delayed for a variety of reasons, so maybe it is. I have some links here to one to the Twitter ad that they or the Twitter thread that they started about their product, and their website, wizardtowergames.com. I'm not sure if anybody here is familiar with them, or if Wizard Tower Games happens to be here and can speak up. I pinged them on Twitter for something a little more than the teaser they put out, considering it was supposed to be out in June, but I haven't heard anything back from them. I just asked them yesterday, so maybe it's a little bit much to expect them to have gotten back with me. Maybe they're still out for the holiday, and then they're catching up. And today happens to be their Monday, like at my job at the post office. But I was off today too, so that worked out pretty good for me. So yes, Wizard Tower Games, from what I can tell, seems to not really get into all of the politics of the day. They just put out tweets for their game, and then if anybody tries to scold them, they kind of shoo them off. So go check out Wizard Tower Games, see what they have to offer. Hopefully it is good. I haven't taken advantage of any of their offerings yet, but I said, oh, I'm going to shout out somebody on the stream, and the first game company, well, I come across on Twitter in my feed, I was going to shout out. So that's what happened. Wizard Tower Games just popped up first, and I was like, okay, they're it. This is the thanks I get. 9.5 hours of work and deeper in debt. May I have some more gruel, sir? Yes. Do better. No, thanks for coming, Cal. Thank you very much for supporting the show. I appreciate that very much. All right. So that is the main topic. That is our look at the gaming sphere. I will also, since I'm here by myself, and we're only a little after past an hour, I'm just going to reiterate something that we brought up a few times on the show here. Eric July has his upcoming comic project. Also support Comicsgate if you are a comic guy. If you find something that you like. Well, I will never suggest you buy or support somebody just for the sake of supporting a non-woke individual or company. Just support stuff that you like that's good. And there are some Comicsgate things that are good. Some of it tends to be a little cringy in my opinion, especially a bit hypersexualized. That's my own taste. In any event, check out Comicsgate. Look them up on Twitter or just on the internet, and they have some good stuff. Eric July has his own thing that's not related to Comicsgate, but it is a comic offering. It's going to be a graphic novel size product that's coming out very soon, hopefully. and he keeps getting inching closer and closer and closer. But like every company right now, there have been some tangles and bumps along the road that's delayed his release. But I believe he's just waiting for. He was waiting for his warehouse to get all sorted, and that's nearly done. And he was also waiting for the website, a separate website for his comic company to be made, and all of that is, according to him, very nearly done. So hopefully we'll be hearing very soon, within this week or next week, that we can, or you can. I'm not going to likely be in a position to order it right away, but and support Eric. Hopefully it's good. I'm sure it will. It will be. He's a very creative guy. The problem with libertarians, according to Max Boivin, is that they tend to be more intelligent and more self-disciplined than most, but they think that everyone can raise to their level. They can't. Correct. So actually, the most libertarian thing you can do is realize that. Make sure that you are doing your libertarian thing and not imposing it on others who desire others to rule them. If California wants to have rulers and be ruled by DC, I'm not going to get in their way. I will drive for Michigan, where I live, to decouple itself as much as it can from federal control. And barring that, I will try to get myself out from under as much federal control as I can, being a libertarian. But I will not presume that everyone must live that way, because that's not libertarian. Because libertarian is more voluntary, a voluntary thing than it's a non-aggression type thing. So if I, through some sort of force, bring my way of thinking to bear upon others, it's not very libertarian. Not my opinion. All right, so all that being said, I don't know if I just did that. I'm an old person, so if I did, forgive me. Subscribe, like, share, comment, chain your friends to their computer until they subscribe as well. I will accept that. Hold on a moment. Hello, honey.
So DVR.
Yes, I did.
Okay. I'm shouting out too.
Okay, my wife is shouting out to DVR. That was my wife. Oh, I did that accidentally. She prefers to remain as anonymous as possible, hence the mask. Yes, please subscribe. Thank you, Green Apple. So, what I would like to do now. Yes, thank you, Green Apple. I'm married to a deer. Apparently, it's legal in Michigan, as we have a license and everything. Yes, fast phone guy or phone guy. Your wife is such a weirdo. Yes, I tell her that every once in a while. And then she tells me that every once in a while, because she thinks she's saying what's on my mind. And she says, "You're a weirdo," thinking that's what I'm thinking. Squirrel? Somebody said it was a deer. It might have been a squirrel. It's a rubber mask. Who knows? Squirrel. That's what she says. Yes, because that squirrel epitomizes my wife. Dungeons and Doggies. Where did that come from? So yeah, I'm going to peruse here through the chat here, try to find some things that I can pick up on. If anybody has any questions, they can shoot them. I'm going to do this for a little while and then leave the floor open. This is something that we don't really do normally on our show, because by the time we get to here, it's usually 2 hours. And that's because there's two of us talking, and we both want to get all of our 2 cents out there. So that takes a little time. What are you saying about my wife, Sean Cherry? About her being a creep, being creepy? Oh, this is a smiley face. That makes it all better. Alrighty then. Yes, it's kind of weird. Anytime you see a person walk up in that kind of mask, it is almost always a little creepy looking. Not like the clown thing that a lot of people are scared of clowns. Maybe that's a similar thing. I don't know. Does anybody know a good war game and RPG hybrid game? Uh, uh, okay, so you can go really old school and just do old D&D with chainmail, and that's a war game RPG hybrid right there. You've got, uh, I think, Adventurer Conqueror King. The Adventurer Conqueror King system is that. I believe they have a war game element to it. Oh, that's Twilight 2000. Oh well, it is about war, so yeah, it's about yeah, that is correct. Duh, Mr. Legion of Myth, Twilight 2000. Okay, Bruce Lombardo of Dick's Division, you have said Frostgrave before. I have asked you what Frostgrave is, but being an old fart, I have forgotten. So if you can remind me, that would be cool. Well, D&D, Roll for Sanity, D&D is already a war game. Depends on what version you're using, because I would say older versions are more war gamey than newer versions, and newer versions going AD&D and forward. Before AD&D, it's more war gamey than after, or including AD&D and second edition. They're not nearly as war gamey as old D&D or Beckme were, in my opinion. Trolling Revolution, is Warhammer being played still? I think 3D printers have destroyed the game. That's an interesting notion. It certainly makes for having a cheaper army, for sure. The Warhammer battle game, that's why I didn't get into it, because I've never really had the extra income necessary for that. It's always been really expensive. All right, Bruce. Frostgrave is a skirmish game with miniatures where you are exploring a frozen city and it thaws out. It has many schools of magic for your wizard who leads your mercenary band. Oh, of course. That's who's the leader is, because why wouldn't he be? The wizard. Green Apple, seeing how Games Workshop is, I hope 3D printers have destroyed them. Yeah, they're not great for their a certain portion of their customers. They're on the diversity, equity, and inclusion. Oh, it's a nut. I was wondering what that was. For the squirrels here. Yes, DV Army. Thank you. Frostgrave needs about 10 to 15 figures for a band. Oh, crap. And you can use your own figurines at tournaments. Very cool game by Osprey Publishing. Yes, I need to keep that in mind. You can use your own figures, too. You don't have to use proprietary. That's great. Do they have much of an online presence? Do they have a Discord or anything that you can get into their game culture with? Or what? That would be nice. We have to look that up. In fact, let me find somewhere to write that down or type that down. Also, as part of kind of a follow-up from last week's solo video, where I complain about drive-throughs monopolistic issues. Let's see, Frostgrave. There we go. I have it in a tab. Now it will remain forever part of my search history, and I will be judged accordingly. So yes, I have started making kind of a mock-up, kind of I wouldn't even call it beta. It's probably more like alpha or pre-alpha Facebook group. I'll look that up too. Thank you, Cal. A proof of concept of a drive-through competitor potential. I mean, I'm one dude, so what can I do? But I'm making it in what's called not one bookshelf. I'm making it in open cart, which is kind of like WordPress in that you load that onto your server. It's a front end and back end. If you are familiar with that lingo, it creates a website and gives you stuff in the background for you to be able to put in products, manage customers, and all of that. Add payment processor. Right now, it's on a shared server, which is not ideal for a business of this nature. Oh, yes. I'm going to interrupt my spiel here to show you what my wife got me for our anniversary. This is called a squishmallow. Squashmallow, squishmallow, squishmallow. Squishmallow. Yeah, like marshmallow, but squishmallow. It's a dragon. She's gotten me this dragon. She's gotten me this dragon. I think that's cooler, but the other one's cuter. And let's see, she's gotten me, oh, it's caught. This dragon. It's a Christmas tree ornament, but I just put it on my table here. And a couple of other ones because she knows I like dragons. So, yay for loving wives. So yes, thank you very much for that anniversary present. So yes, I'm making a proof of concept, and hopefully, if I can generate enough interest, maybe I can generate some capital to actually put it in a position to be a competitor, because being on a shared server, it has less security and it's less stable, and it is it really needs to be on its own bare metal server or multiple. This needs to be at some point mirrored depending on how many what the customer load is. And there's a lot of considerations. Security, to be a real competitor, as pointed out by RPG Pundit today on Twitter, on a thread that we're on. It needs to be able to have, no, not on Twitter, it was on Facebook. It needs to be able to have a print on demand function. So I believe that once I can get it to beta level and can generate enough interest to get some capital, I don't know how to do any of that. So we'll see. I should be able to figure out how to integrate Lulu, because I'm made to understand that it's not that hard to integrate. So it needs to have print on demand. It needs to be able to do all the things, at least all the things, if not more, that drive-through can do. Without any constraint, there will be a couple. I can't say there will be no constraints on what can be submitted, because one, it has to meet legal standards for the United States. I'm not going to be a purveyor of things that, like pornography or anything too lewd. So it'll all depend on that. So that is what that's another thing that I'm doing that Randy will be helping with, I believe. So oh, Baron, yes, you made it before the end. I wasn't getting ready to end it too soon. I'm going to speak with the going to go back and forth with the chat a bit. Oh, yes, I have that. Oh, where'd it go? It must have fallen. I have we got it from, I can't remember the name of the company anymore. They have Geek Stuff. Not Geek Monkey. They have a monkey as their icon, as their like mascot. Ah,
above your computer.
yes. So I have been told I've got it. So we've got a, for those who are not listening. Oh, and I apologize to those who were listening who didn't get to see all of the different dragons. This is a flesh-eating bacteria. Note, it's shaped like, I guess, a bacteria might be, like with eyes. And it has a fork and knife, like bacteria use to eat the flesh that they eat. But yes, does it have it on there? No. Can't remember the name of the company we got it from, if they're still around. Think Geek, that's the name of it. Because I eat a lot, so it was kind of fitting. And my dog Sparky just came in here because he wants to be part of this stream, but he will not jump up to be pictured. So yes, hopefully something happens because as a result of my efforts making a clone of, well, not a clone exactly, but maybe a competitor. That's the purpose. Hopefully it'll work out. The beta proof of concept competitor to drive through. Hopefully that works out. There's a Discord channel dedicated to that on Biggest Geekus Discord. There's not that much activity there yet because I don't have much to show yet. Hopefully that will work out soon. Well, it's going to take a while. There's a lot to go into it, even just to make it a proof of concept. And I have a day job, so. All right. Oh, yes, Baron, you weren't here earlier. My wife likes to be anonymous as possible online, so she knows this is live out there, so she doesn't want her face out there on the internet. Oh, yeah, I was wondering if they shut down. So Trolling Revolution, Think Geek shut down, unfortunately, went back to GameStop website. That's too bad. They had some interesting stuff. I mean, none of it was all that. It was just stuff you put on yourself and look at it because it's cool for the most part. Bruce, the best VR game I've seen yet is A Mage's Tale. So I remember seeing something about a wizard and you being able to move your hands around, and then the mage does stuff because it's VR. It was, I didn't like really the way it looked, but I can be picky. If we're talking about the same game. Baron G-Rock, Biggest Geekus, if you need help, I do have some website background and a test server if needed. Now, the test server might come in handy. Right now, it's hosted as a subdomain of Biggest Geekus. So it's on a shared server, like I was saying earlier. So, yeah, sometime down the road when it becomes more than just, I think, 2 pretend products, when it's more filled out, yeah, we may do that. I appreciate the support. So are these as many test servers as needed? So does that mean virtual servers, or does that mean, I can't mean bare metal, but if it's a test server out by itself and it's not bugging anybody else, then that's fine too for testing. The Mage's Tale is set in the world of Bard's Tale. Okay, so this might not be the same thing I'm thinking of. Yeah, virtual servers. I thought that's what you were talking about. That'll work for testing. Powder Puff, Nerd, Biggest Geekus, will you be doing any commentary on Oathbound 7? Okay, Oathbound 7. I hadn't planned on it today, but going forward, if that's what you would like us to do, we will put it on the docket to talk about. We have mentioned it from time to time. I believe even that Bruce has brought it up a couple of times, or that we've talked about it amongst us. But yes, no, I used them, many of them, for gaming servers. Gotcha. Oop, just did that one. So yeah, let's see what else. VR. It was a little interesting to get used to. We got VR headsets with one of our phone purchases a few years ago, and it was a novelty for a little while, but it wore off. I don't think either of us, it would left a lasting impression on either one of us. There's some cool things, like my wife. If you play horror games, my wife will do that. Or there was a roller coaster emulator. For the roller coaster emulator, she really loved that. She was giggling, and the scary games scared her probably a ton more in the VR environment. It was fun. It was fun to watch. All right. Looks like I'm getting pinged a lot. We're getting some activity out on our Discord from one. Let's see here. It's not showing up. Never mind. Well, I've already got some support saying that once we get it up and running, they will move all of their stuff over. So that's really cool. Thank you. Thank you to that person. If you want me to say your name out loud, that's cool. Otherwise, we will save that for later. Just to let you know, we have somebody that is interested in moving their stuff already. And we don't even have anything ready yet. That is cool. And I appreciate that. Getting back to Oathbound 7, it was a Pathfinder setting. And like a lot of Pathfinder, it might have also been 3rd edition. I'm not sure. I think it happened during the Pathfinder era, though. They could tend to up the ante, and they certainly did. The races that you could play in Oathbound 7 were head and shoulders more powerful than the base races of Pathfinder. That's even given the variety that they ended up having. I'm pretty sure that these were all more powerful than them, from what I remember. I can't remember specific powers really, but they were just about all of them were more powerful than your base races in Pathfinder. The setting itself is kind of dark, especially one particular area is dark all the time because there's no sun. So, Badoom-chi. There's essentially a god that is trapped, and 7 of his jailers want out of the eons long servitude that being his jailers have been. So they are combing the multiverse for individuals who could at some point take their place. So they pull them in and set them loose to adventure, grow powerful, and hopefully eventually take their place so that they can leave. So while they are ostensibly angels, they're very much not good from that point of view. So that's the Mile High view of the setting, if I'm remembering correctly. And Tolus did it better. Well, Tolus was more focused on its intent, I think. Tolus was a city, though it had a lot of stuff you could do. Oathbound had multiples. It was a setting. It had multiple continent-like places that you could go, and had a kind of theme to drive toward. Tolus was just a city setting. I don't think that it had unless I'm mistaken, maybe you could inform me. I don't think that there was an overall plot to get involved in. There's probably many minor plots, but not a major overarching plot in Tolus. Okay, Trolling Revolution. How are people playing a book-based RPG? How are people playing book-based RPG games nowadays, over the internet or still in real life? Both. If you're talking about D&D like games, RPGs that have physical books, people are doing both. I know of folks who exclusively play online because of their situation. A fellow overseas, he runs Red Dice Diaries podcast and video empire. He exclusively plays online because his hometown he cannot get a group together. So he does that. And I know some people, we play exclusively face-to-face here because we have a large group of people to choose from. It's a very unique situation to us. Phone guy, biggest geekus. Sir, you really have a vast knowledge of all these games. A smattering. I have, but thank you. I have a smattering of knowledge of a smattering of games. I think I probably know 10% of games out there very well, because I'm always hearing of these games, hearing about games that I've never picked up but know the name of, and then games that I've never heard of at all. Tolus has its own races and such, but it had at its core, you had 7 angels guarding it. That was the campaign that was 1 to 20 in the initial Tolus release. Oh, I didn't know Tolus had angels guarding it. Oh, that's interesting. Haha. Thank you, Baron. He has enough to be dangerous. It's true. I know enough about non-D&D games, a few to play them, and then a smattering of other games that I've played a little bit or want to play. And some I have read, and some I have not, and just know of. Aaron Wilkerson, biggest geek, is any interest in EZD6 that DM Scotty just released? I have no idea what that is. I will look it up. If it's rules light, it probably will not hold my interest long. Randy probably would like it more than I if it is rules light. I'm not into role master level of crunch or rules complexity, but I do like some. If it gets too, I think Savage Worlds is the bottom, pretty close to the bottom of rules complexity and crunch for me. If it gets much more than that, my interest starts waning exponentially. It's rules light, so yeah. But that being said, it's as something that we've talked about on the channel. We play with friends, and we'll play any role-playing game that one person is interested in at least once, if they're willing to run it. And since we're friends and we know how all of our quirks and whatnot, it usually works out pretty good, no matter what the system is, really. Aha. Are you trying to call me the James Bond of role-playing gamers? LOL at Baron G Rock like RPG 007, Powder Puff Nerd is saying. And then, face-to-face is best because you can steal other people's snacks. Yes, that is an advantage, according to Powder Puff Nerd. Yes. So easy D6 games are already rules light. Is this a cut down of even the rules lightness of the typical D6 engine? I was just listening to the Nerds Are no. I was just listening to Red Dice Diaries, and there's a new, I think less than 30-page book that they released for free. That is a stripped down version of the WEG West End Games version of the Star Wars game, and they called it Hyperspace D6, I think, and that's supposed to be a D6 version. I think West End Games was D6, and this is a cut down version of that. So I wonder if that's similar. Thank you, Baron G Rock. I have been doing that. I have been putting up reminders throughout the episode. Make sure you all like, share, and subscribe. It will make Joe's puppy happy and keep from busting in the room like the Hulk again. Yes, that's what that will do. Every time you like, it keeps him out. And subscribe. So, all right. Looks like we are to the joking around point. So I think what I will do is begin the shutdown of the live stream. So let me check one more thing. Yes. All right. So, again, Baron G Rock says, and is right to say, like, share, and subscribe. And there is that for the subscribe. I'm going to make it flash on and off because I have all the power. All right. All that being said, please visit our website and send us email if you have any questions. Our website is biggestgeekespodcast.com. Our email is thegeeks@biggestgeekespodcast.com for any questions, comments, or concerns. We have a new Discord server link. I was informed that the permanent link that I put up is no longer permanent. So here's a new permanent link. Hopefully it stays permanent because the other permanent link wasn't so permanent. All the other links of the material we discussed tonight are already in the description. I'm going to be updating it over the next 24 hours, but all the links will remain. If there are no other questions or concerns, this is Joe. Yes, and I'm finding it. There it is. Yes, this is Joe. And remember, if you can't be big like us, then be geeks like us.